Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. It's been a while since I used the channel, so we're just restarting it. And any day that you learn something new is a good day. So what I want to do with this channel is yes, I'm a professional knife maker. I also am a machinist, woodworker, and renovator, and have worked for friends that are contractors and helped them install kitchens and bathrooms. Worked for them doing that. So what I want to do with this channel is I want a little variety. I don't want to just do knife making. There will be plenty of that for people who are getting into knife making, and sometimes you might pick something up if you're experienced, or I might pick something up from you in the comments below. But for the most part, I want to mix it up a little bit and keep it interesting. So there'll be a variety of projects. Anyways, what I want to cover today is something that I don't see done a lot of on YouTube, and that's how to help make your projects go a lot easier and get the best out of your trip to a hardware store. So when we talk about DIY renovations and being makers and things like that, somebody who's crafting stuff or repairing stuff, there's everybody always wants to talk about the tools. There's tool belt tours, there's tool bag tours, and I love those. Don't get me wrong. I love looking at other people's rigs. But one of the tools I think they forget to cover a lot of times are these ones right here. This is a pad of graph paper. Here is a little notepad that I carry with me, and I've been doing woodworking and renovations for years, and I always have one of these with me. Simple pencil with eraser, and of course the tape measure. And I know a lot of people cover what's their favorite tape measure and what they like about them. I'll tell you, when we doing this section, any tape measure will do, because of what I'm going to get at here is sometimes what you need to do is lay your projects out, and that's where the graph paper comes in. If you lay out your projects, you can visualize them better. You'll get a better idea of the materials you need, and if there's something you're not sure about that wasn't covered on a YouTube video or something you're tackling on your own, and there's a little bit of a gray area there, you paint a more clearer picture of what the staff at the store can help you with. For years, I was at the hardware stores, especially woodworking and hardware store, and the people who came in knowing exactly what they wanted and having the details of what they were looking for or what the problem was, we were able to help out right away. Sometimes it was hit or miss. So one of the first things you need to do is draw a diagram. If you're making a piece of furniture, draw a diagram. If you're making a piece of furniture and it's got to fit a space and you're not sure how to design the furniture and you're going in for design help, which is, I helped a lot of people design furniture when they came into the store. Measure the space that it's to fit into. Figure out what height you wanted. Is it going to be a table for behind the couch? Well, measure the height of the back of the couch. Get some measurements. Well, it turned out that a lot of times what we had was what I nicknamed NMs, November Mamas, and that stands for no measurements. So we would get people that came in and, for instance, one guy wanted a TV bracket for his wall, and I asked him, I said, hey, so how big is your TV? Because the size of the TV tells me how heavy it is, and that tells me what size of bracket we need to get to make sure your TV doesn't end up on the floor. And he went, my TV's about this big. And, another guy came in and said, well, I'm building a jewelry box. And I said, great. So how big is the jewelry box? And what thickness is the wood, so I know what kind of hinges to help you look for? And he went, oh, about this big, and the wood's about that big. Well, sometimes I'm sitting there going, okay, hold your hands, and trying to figure out what that is. And it's not to sound harsh or anything, but if you bring in a measurement, then your trip to the store is much more valuable. You get what you want the first time, hopefully. The staff, if you're counting on their expertise, you got to give them some evidence to go on. So you give them that information, and they work from there with you. If not, then combined with what they know and what you know, maybe you could, with nowadays technology, maybe you can access one of the computers at the store, which I've done that before, and said, okay, well, this is what I know about this, and you're telling me this is what you've got. So let's see if we can't find an answer on the internet for us, what would work best here. Things like that. So if you draw out a diagram and bring it with you, and by all means, it's not just a diagram. trying to match some hardware to a cupboard, bring in a door, bring in a drawer front, bring as much information with you as you possibly can. Measurements, diagrams, pictures. That's where we lead to another important tool. And I keep picking this up upside down, is your phone. It takes video now. So let's say you come in and you've got a broken hinge on your cupboard and you want to turn around and replace that hinge. Well, is your hinge a half overlay, a full overlay? Do you have carcass cupboards? Do you have cupboards with face frames on them? If you don't have a background in woodworking, you probably won't know any of these. So the important part is you don't technically have to. Try and remember whatever you're doing, whether or not it's the hinge example, you've got a broken toilet, there's a part broken on your toilet, you've got a problem with a tap or anything in the house. Take a video of it. Take a picture of it. I can tell what kind of hinges you have and what your cupboards are like if you take a short video of you opening and closing one of the good functioning doors. Not obviously not the door with the broken hinge. If you want to bring in a picture of the broken hinge door or the broken hinge itself, that helps me out. If you want to bring in the broken hinge, don't hesitate. You're there to get the problem solved. Bring in as much information with you as possible to get things done. Whether or not you're fixing or building something, the more information, the better. Another useful thing, like I mentioned, was this pad. So this is my shopping list. This pad doubles for everything. It's like my little Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder reminding me of things. And so what I do with that is I will write down things like, all in the same book, what I'm shopping for today, and cross them off as I pick them up. That way I don't forget. Especially at my age, the memory aspect of things is pretty slim. I will forget sometimes. The other thing to do with this is cut lists. So I'm doing my baseboards. So I make a small diagram of the room sometimes in here, or don't, but I put down my measurements and give initials, or I number the walls with a piece of tape so I know what I'm cutting if I'm doing a room with a lot of different facets to it. And then I go out, do my cutting, and come back in, and then I always cut a little proud and tweak them. But that's something we'll talk about later, or there's plenty of guys on YouTube that are excellent trim carpenters, and so you want to watch their videos. But it's the idea that this serves as a memory. You can keep it on your cell phone if you want, if you're not archaic like me with pen and paper. Like I said, cut list, shopping list, to-do lists. If you're like me, I'm renovating this house from top to bottom. Started in one bathroom and then unfortunately just bled into the rest of the house. And so now there's not a room in this house that's been left untouched. Flooring, painting. So every day I make a list of things I want to do. And as I'm making the list, I kind of almost give myself an idea of how to work more efficiently. So if I'm writing down paint the bathroom, well then I know once I put a coat of paint or cut that bathroom in, I'm just sitting around and waiting. Or am I? Well, no, I can do the baseboards in the rec room, and I'll write that down too. If I write it down, sometimes it helps organize my thoughts and helps me organize which way to go about things. And so that's more along the DIY or reno area things. You can do that with making a project too. Like if you're starting to, refinish your bar, you can write down, I'm going to do this, and like cut out the panels. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to put a coat of stain on the top and then a coat of varnish on the top. So it's sometimes handy to write things out either in a book or on your cell phone, and that helps you visualize things and get things going. But definitely do remember, the more information you bring into a hardware store with you, the more helpful the people can be. And measurements, you can never have too many measurements. Write a diagram out and then label it. Another good example is LED lighting systems. I get plenty of people coming and saying, look, I want to buy some LED lighting system. And I said, sure, how long do you need? And they'll sit there again and they'll go with their hands, well, I've got one cupboard about this long, it's 2 feet long, and then there's another cupboard that's 36 inches long, and then there's this cupboard, and then there's a gap between the two cupboards. If you have a diagram, I can sit down in a minute and figure out what size of transformer you need, whether or not you need connectors, how much extra wire you need to connect between the two LED tapes. Definitely, again, the more information, the better. So hopefully I'm not sounding, like I'm being too hard on people. But again, it's all to help you out. If you can do these things, you won't be taking trips back and forth to the hardware store hopefully for things that you missed or returning things that you bought too much of and you didn't need. Time and money are pretty precious, and I'm just trying to save you some. So please check back into the channel. I hope you found today a good day and learned something from this video, and we'll be covering more notes about the hardware store to start out with. And then after that, hopefully we'll grow into a little bit more dynamic and start doing some projects with you. Take care. Thanks for stopping in.